Swa Atma Tayopala Alitam. Shva Bhojanam Swatma Tayopalalitam. Shva Bhojanam Swatma Tayopalalitam. Hasanti yasya charitam hidurbhagam. Svatman ratasya vidusha samhitam. Yaivasramalya bharananu phale phanai. Shvabhojanam svatmatayau phalalitam. Hasanti yasya charitam hidurbhagaham. Svatman ratasya vidusha samhitam. Yairvasramalya bharananu phale phanai. Shvabhojanam svatmatayau phalalitam. Prabhuji's. Hasyanti. Svabhojanam svatmataya palohitam. Evasramalya bharananu phale phanai. Svabhojanam svatmatayo phalalitam. Hasanti yasya charitam hidurbhaga. Sva atma ratasya vidusha samitam. Yevasramalya abharananu phale phanai. Swabhojanam svatmataya ulapalitam padalitam. Maraji. Hasanti yasya charitam hidurbhaga. Svatma ratasya avidushu samhitam. Ya vastramalya abharana lephanai. Svajanam svapalitam upalalitam. Transliteration, please repeat after me. Hasanti, laugh at. Yasya, whose. Acharitam, activity. He, certainly. Durbhagaha, the unfortunate. Swa Atman, in the self. Ratasya, of one engaged. Avidushaha, not knowing. Samhitam, his purpose. Yahi, by whom? Vastra, clothing. Malya, garlands. Abharana, ornaments. Anu, such luxuries. Lephanai, with ointments. Shva bhojanam, eatable by the dogs. Swa atmatayam, as if the self, upalalitam, fondled. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Unfortunate foolish persons, not knowing that he is engaged in his own self, laugh at him. Such foolish persons engage in maintaining the body which is eatable by dogs with dresses, ornaments, garlands and ointments. Please repeat after me. Unfortunate, foolish persons, not knowing that he is engaged in his own self, laugh at him. Such foolish persons engage in maintaining the body which is eatable by dogs with dresses, ornaments, garlands, and ointments. Purport: Lord Shiva never accepts any luxurious dress, garland, ornament, or ointment. But those who are addicted to the decoration of the body, which is finally eatable by dogs, very luxuriously maintain it as the self. Such persons do not understand Lord Shiva, but they approach him for luxurious material comforts. There are two kinds of devotees of Lord Shiva. One class is the gross materialist seeking only bodily comforts from Lord Shiva, and the other class desires to become one with him. They are mostly impersonalists and prefer to chant Shivoham, I am Shiva, or after liberation I shall become one with Lord Shiva. In other words, the Kamis and Jnanis are generally devotees of Lord Shiva, but they do not properly understand his real purpose in life. Sometimes so-called devotees of Lord Shiva imitate him in using poisonous intoxicants. Lord Shiva once swallowed an ocean of poison, and thus his throat became blue. The imitation Shivas try to follow him by indulging in poisons, and thus they are ruined. The real purpose of Lord Shiva is to serve the soul of the soul, Lord Krishna. He desires that all luxurious articles such as nice garments, garlands, ornaments, and cosmetics be given to Lord Krishna only, because Krishna is the real enjoyer. He refuses to accept such luxurious items himself because they are only meant for Krishna. However, since they do not know this purpose of Lord Shiva, foolish persons either laugh at him or profitlessly try to imitate him. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakya Chakshurunmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shridapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sakrajadam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tham Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitam Sa Vancha Kalpat Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Tesha Tarine Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyasha Kripa Sindubhye Vacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratuse Namaha. Hey Krishna, Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sudhe Devi Paramami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukham Karoti Vatsalam Pango Langayate Girim Kripatamaha Vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Tavai Vasmi Tavai Vina Iti Vigya Devi Tvam Namam Charanantikam. Hare Krishna everyone, welcome to today's Bhagavatam class, chapter Pregnancy of Diti in the evening. Before we start discussing the purport, there are some words used here, the last line, Shva Bhojanam and Swa Atmataya. There's a funny story. There was in the bygone days, a father sent his child to the Gurukul, and the child didn't want to go to school, which is quite normal. And the child came back and said, "Oh, Father, I don't want to study. All this is complicated. I just want to do some work or play with you." So father said, "Child, this is when you're young, it's a good opportunity for you to study. If you miss this age to study, it's very difficult for you to study in the later part of your life. If you don't want to study other sciences or shastras, you should at least study Vyakarana. Vyakarana means grammar. At least one should study grammar, so that you can understand the difference between, here it's used, Shvajana, he uses these words, Shvajana and Swajana. Shvajana means, anybody knows what Shvajana means? Shvajana means dogs, the family of dogs. And Swajana means relatives. So you need to know the grammar to at least tell the difference between your own relatives and a family of dogs, Shvajana and Swajana. And he keeps on going, saying Sakalam and Shakalam. Sakalam means everything, and Shakalam means only partials, and Sakruti and Shakruti. Shakruti means stool, and Sakruti means once, or outwardly looking, or only looking at once. So at least to understand, your own relatives or calling your own relatives dogs, or accepting dogs as your relatives. Or nowadays, I guess people accept. I don't think people accept relatives as their own swajana. They prefer to accept a dog as their swajana. So may not work nowadays. But anyway, so the father insisted the son that at least he learns Vyakarana, so he can understand the difference between Shvajana and Swajana. The word Swajana is used by Arjuna in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Like he uses 3 times in 3 verses to say, I don't want to fight my own Swajana because they are my relatives. Anyway, anecdote. Since both the words are used here, I thought I will mention it. Going back to the context, here Lord Shiva is described by Kashyapa to his wife Diti. The tattva of Shiva, Jiva Goswami says, the tattva of Shiva and Guru is very hard to understand. It's one of the hardest topics to comprehend or understand. Guru is, most of the scriptures describe Guru as the Lord Himself. Even the morning prayers we have. What is that? What's that? Sakshat, thank you. Sakshat Haritvena Samasta Shastrai. All the Shastras describe the Guru as Sakshat Hari. Sakshat Hari. And similarly, Lord Shiva is also a guna incarnation of Shiva, of Krishna. He's an expansion of Krishna. He is not really a demigod neither. He's not a jiva neither. So his tattva is quite hard to understand, as similar to Guru. For example, a Guru, you can see him as an ordinary person. He's like us. Especially if you're serving your Guru, more intimately. Like, I used to serve my Guru. He gets pain in his body, or he sweats. He takes shower in the morning. He goes to the toilet. He has to eat, and he sometimes gets sick. These things might appear like an ordinary person, because that's what ordinary jivas we go through too. But spiritual master is something different. Even though he has all the external features of a normal jiva, but he is a representative of Lord Krishna. So he is considered Sakshat Hari himself. So the scriptures describe him as Sakshat Hari. So there's, it's a hard topic. The topic of Guru is hard to comprehend. Similarly, Lord Shiva appears in previous verses. Kashyapa Muni says that Shiva appeared from the Lord himself. In what Brahma Samhita says, Shiram yati dadi vihara vishesha yogat sanjayate nahi tatha pratihag hastyetho yasambhutam samupaiti samupaiti karyat govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. So Brahma gives an example like Shiram and Dahi. Shiram is milk. And Dahi comes out, Dahi is yogurt. Yogurt comes out of milk. So in one sense, there's no difference between milk and yogurt. They are pretty much the same quantity. But when the milk is touched by acidity, it transforms into yogurt. So when you drink too much milk, your stomach gets upset. Then to cure that, you drink yogurt, which is the same quantity. It's quite perplexing. If your stomach is upset, you can't drink milk, but you can drink yogurt. It's the same quantity, but acts completely different. Similarly, Shiva, his expansion of Guna Avatar of Krishna himself, but since he is actively participating in mode of ignorance, handling mode of ignorance, he is different. He is simultaneously one, but at the same time different. So the concept of Shiva Tattva and Jiva Tattva, Guru Tattva, according to Jiva Goswami, is very hard to understand. Shiva is not an ordinary jiva. He's not like any other demigods, like Indra, Chandra. They are demigods who control various aspects of material affairs. But Shiva is situated above them. He's beyond the demigods. At the same time, he is not to the level of Krishna himself. He is slightly inferior to Krishna in one sense. And a lot of materialists worship Shiva as the supreme, looking for material benefits. But one has to be careful, even though Shiva is so closely associated with Krishna, almost similar to Krishna, one should not accept him as Krishna himself. Krishna has 64 qualities. Krishna, when he went to school at Sandipani Muni, he learned 64 qualities in 64 days. He is Akila Samrita Sindhu. He has all the 64 qualities in full. Best demigods, like Brahma, up to Brahma, they have only up to 50 qualities. They can acquire only 50 qualities. But Shiva, on the other hand, he has 55 qualities. He has 5 more qualities compared to Brahma himself. But at the same time, he doesn't have 64 qualities like Krishna. So he's kind of in the middle. And Lord Shiva is the maintainer of this material universe. The verse before the one Shiram Yatha Vihara Yogat, what is the verse? Shrishti Siti Pralaya Sadhana Shakti Rekha Chayeva Yasya Bhuvanani Bhruti Durga Ichhanurupam Api Yasya Cheta Sa Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Shrishti Sriti Pralaya and Sadhana Shakti Rekha. So creation, maintenance, annihilation, it's all carried out by Chayeva, Vibhati Durga. Durga carries out, Mother Durga carries out creation, maintenance, and destruction of this material world. And she is always under the protection of Lord Shiva. She never leaves her husband. She's always under the protection of her husband. She's always seated on his lap. You can see in 6th canto, Chitraketu story, she's seated right in Shiva's lap. So Parvati, who maintains, creates the material world, destroys them during annihilation, and also she's the fortress keeping all the living entities within this material world. But she is under the protection of Lord Shiva. So that's how glorious Lord Shiva is. So he's not an ordinary person. Here, people who take Shiva for granted or laugh at him are criticized. Generally, people who are very opulent are maddened by material opulence, sometimes disrespect Shiva, because Shiva acts a bit strange. How strange? When a person is husband of the in charge of the material world, he should sometimes exhibit. He should exhibit some opulence. It's natural. If you're married to a very rich person, or the minister, or the prime minister, whatever, you also get the benefit. You also get to live in the same place. What is that place in Canberra? They call it. Anyone knows the name of the building where the prime minister lives? I can't remember. Something. So, the residence of the prime minister, or in Kirribilli, the Kirribilli house. The wife or the consort of the prime minister get to live there. The children get to live there. Similarly, Durga is the maintainer of this material world. All the opulence within this material world is channeled to the living entities through her. She is the one who is, awarding various opulences according to people's individual karma. So that's her glorious position. But Shiva, being her husband, who is a controller of Durga herself, doesn't take up any of the opulences. He lives a very simple existence. What to speak of simple? He actually goes a bit overboard and actually lives in the crematoriums, the places where the dead bodies are burnt. Generally, people avoid funeral parlors. You don't want to go there. It's kind of spooky. You go there when you're dead. You're forced to go there when you're dead, when your body is burnt. Otherwise, generally, you kind of avoid crematoriums. The dust from a crematorium is very inauspicious. Even when, one goes to a funeral, attends a funeral, goes to the crematorium, the person is not allowed to enter the house. They have to take a shower, throw the clothes away, take a shower, and then they are allowed to enter the temple. When you go to a crematorium, or when a funeral passes on your way, you're supposed to go back. It's considered inauspicious. Go home and take a shower. If you come into the temple and there's a funeral passing through, you can't come to the temple. You're contaminated. You go home, take a shower, and then come to the temple. So anything to do with crematorium or the burial ground, is very inauspicious. And Shiva, the Lord of Parvati or Durga, out of his renunciation, he doesn't choose to live in a palace or in an opulent situation. He chooses to live in the most inauspicious place, which is a crematorium. And living in a crematorium, he's always smeared with the ashes of the dead bodies. He's smearing himself with the ashes of the dead bodies, which is considered very inauspicious. That's why Shaivites, they also wear the ashes on the forehead, which is considered inauspicious. When you wear those ashes, you can't enter a Vishnu temple. I remember when I was a child, you go to grew up in a Vaishnava family, you go to some temple and they give the ash and, you put it on your forehead and you get beaten up by my grandmother. And so you can't, you're a Vaishnava, you can't wear those ashes. You can't, you have to wear the Urdhva Pundara, the tilak, Krishna tilak. So you used to get beaten up and told to take shower. So it's inauspicious. But Shiva, being such a renunciate, he covers himself with these ashes. And these things are inauspicious for ordinary living entities like us. But when it comes to Shiva, these things are not inauspicious. On the other hand, Shiva himself, the word Shiva means auspiciousness. Shiva means auspiciousness. So that's a glory of Lord Shiva. Why he does that? He is doing it to set an example. So even though he's very closely associated with all the opulences of the material world, he is exhibiting extreme renunciation to show the living entities that these opulences are temporary. And they go when the body goes. When the body is dead, all these opulences are dead. So he wears the ornament of renunciation to set an example. What is that? Qualities of Krishna: Aishwaryascha, Samagrascha, Viryascha, Vairagya, Jnana Vairagyam. The 6 opulences of Krishna. One is Vairagyam, renunciation. To be renounced is an ornament. Generally, the sannyasis, ornament of a sannyasi is renunciation. Is tapasya, is Vairagya. Generally, that's why in Vedic civilization, cultured Vedic civilization, when a sadhu or when an ascetic is seen, he is paid respect. Even if the ascetic is from a Mayavadi school or any school, he is given respect from a distance at least. If it is a Vaishnava saint, one takes shelter of him. So the ascetics are always respected because they have the ornament of Vairagya, which is very hard to attain. The renunciation is very hard to attain. Well, those culture is gone nowadays. Nowadays, when you see a ascetic, you usually think he's probably a fraud, trying to put on the clothes of saffron and try to enjoy. That's Kali Yuga has become like that. But generally, ascetic, the ornament is Vairagya or renunciation. Similarly, here, Shiva also, exhibits extreme renunciation to set an example. What is that word? 324 or 329? Yad archita. Yad ashrita shreshta. Is that one? Yad ashrita shreshta. Tad ethero janaha. Sayat pramanam kurute. Just to set an example. Pramanam, to be an example, to set an example. Shreshtas, people who are very qualified, set an example by practice. And Acharya, or a very exalted person, preaches by practice. Similarly, Shiva, a great personality, he practiced vairagya, even though very closely associated with material opulence. It is in the 5th canto of Bhagavatam, it is said the bodily fluids from the sexual intercourse of Shiva and Parvati, when it mixes, that becomes gold in the lower planetary systems. Gold is formed from the bodily fluids, sexual bodily fluids of Lord Shiva. So that's how opulent he is. From him, gold comes out, not from his breathing, but from his secretion, gold comes out. So that's how opulent he is. In spite of that, Shiva accepts a very renowned status. Generally, it says. Generally, they say in Pancharatra, they say, like Krishna likes to get decorated. They call Krishna as Alankara Purusha. He loves to get decorated. All nice paraphernalias, Chandra Kala Lasat Vanamalya Vamsi Ratnangada Pranaya Keli Kalavilasham. He wears this beautiful moon locket. He wears a Vanamali garland. His hands are decorated with Ratnangada, with gems. He really likes decorating himself. And he doesn't like to take bath. He runs away. When Mother Yashoda wants to bathe him, he runs away. He doesn't like to get bathed. But he likes to get decorated. He likes to wear nice garlands, nice crown, peacock feather, Bharahavatam. His idea is like, I'm covered in dust of Raja. I don't want to wash this away. So he wants to be, he doesn't want to take shower. Whenever Mother Yashoda wants to bathe him, he runs away. But he likes to get decorated because he wants to appear beautiful for the gopis. So in Pancharatra, the Abhishek ceremony done for Krishna is very quick. They don't bathe him for too long. When you perform Abhishek, according to Pancharatra, you kind of do it very quickly because he doesn't like to be bathed that much. But Shiva, he likes to be bathed all the time. He's always bathed. When you go to any Shiva temple, there's always a pot hanging on on top of the linga, and this water pot, it's always dripping on him. Have you seen anybody Shiva linga in Shiva temple? Yeah, it's always dripping on him because he likes to get bathed all the time. Because he thinks that he is contaminated by the tamoguna. So he wants to get bathed all the time. So that's how Shiva sees himself. So that's a glory of Shiva. Shiva at the same time is a highly renounced personality. But he is also very kind. He is very kind. He's impartially very kind. One of his names is Asutosha, who is very easily pleased. He can be easily pleased, Asutosha. So he's very kind that anybody who approaches him with whatever desire, he fulfills those desires. Even though he lives a very renowned life, but when somebody approaches him for any material desire, he fulfills those desires. So a person approaching Shiva, he should just first think, I'm approaching for wealth, but the giver himself is very renounced. So why? So one should ask that question. So that's that's kind of a natural inclination. But people who are blinded by material need or desire, blindly, easily, conveniently don't recognize the renunciation of Shiva. And also, Lord Shiva is being very kind. He also gives shelter for the most abominable creatures. Most abominable creatures are living entities who are frustrated from not able to achieve material happiness, whatever the desire is, completely frustrated. They kill themselves. They commit suicide. they're frustrated, their mind completely goes off, they kill themselves. And it's a very grievous offense because the body doesn't belong to you, it is given to you. Again, when I was a child, when I used to get, I was quite naughty and fall off here and there, and I have too many stitches. And my grandmother used to say, this body is not yours. It's a rented body. It's given to you as a rent. So you have to look after it and give it back to Krishna when you die. So just look after yourself, she used to tell me. It's a rented body. So this body is it's given to us as a rent so that we can perform devotional service by the material energy. But due to extreme dissatisfaction, one kills himself. So it's a grievous offense. So the people who commit suicide, they end up as ghosts. Similarly, people who have a bit of intelligence or jnana, when they get frustrated from not able to enjoy, they become Mayavadis. They say, oh, Jagat Mrityam, Brahma Satyam, Jagat Nityam. Everything material you see is fake, or what is a Mrityam? False. They consider everything as false. And so they want to merge, or when they want to give up the individuality, they want to lose their individuality or commit spiritual suicide. Only if you have an individuality, then you have to deal with this happiness and distress. So I will just kill my individuality, like the Buddhists or the Mayavadis, the Sunyavadis. Now they want to nirvishesha, they want to give up the vishesha, the qualities of the soul, and want to merge. And they are also considered a grievous offense. Number one, they want to commit spiritual suicide. They want to kill the soul, Atmaha. In Isopanishad it says Atmaha. Want to kill their soul by merging. So they are also considered very offensive, and they also end up in ghostly forms. So Shiva, being very merciful, gives shelter to these entities who have killed their body or trying to kill their soul. He gives them shelter because he is very merciful, he is very kind. And he, when a right time comes, he purifies them gradually. And when an opportunity presents himself, when the couple doesn't perform garbhadana samskara, or when a husband and wife indulge in sex desire in an inauspicious time, on the influence of alcohol, on the influence of bad timing, like the sandhya, or the evenings, or the morning hours, or during Ekadashi, or during the Lord's appearance days. There are many inauspicious times. When they try to have sexual intercourse, Lord Shiva takes this as an opportunity and puts these souls who have taken shelter in those wombs, and they end up getting a human form of human body. But again, because of their association with mode of ignorance, these souls generally tend to be very demoniac in nature. They cause trouble in society. They cause war in society. Like we can see, there's a huge war going on because of all Varna Shankaras, unqualified people taking birth. Because generally consumption nowadays happens after a piece of meat and a wine. That's a garbhadana samskara of the modern world. And naturally the entities born out of these samskaras are very demoniac in nature, and they only cause chaos in society. So Shiva offers them an opportunity to get a human form of body when a couple misuses their sexual performs their sexual act in inauspicious times. And also the materialistic people, out of their opulence, looking at the renunciation of Shiva, they criticize him. And here those people are called people are foolish people engaging in maintaining their body, which is eatable by the dogs. Prabhupada usually he talks about decorating the dead body, decorating the dead body. So people who are materialistically inclined and want to look after their body, and their body is they're considered decorating the dead body. So these people who are puffed up by material opulence make fun of Lord Shiva. They don't understand his activities. Janma karma chame divyam. The Lord's birth activities are all transcendental, very hard to understand. Similarly, his devotees' activities are also very hard to understand. So here, Diti, she is a daughter of Daksha. And Daksha performed two sacrifices. He performed two sacrifices twice. The first time he invited Shiva because he was forced to invite by Brahma, so he couldn't refuse, so he invited Shiva. So Daksha is a very opulent person. He performed a lot of karmakandik yagya. Because of that, he acquired a lot of wealth and opulence. And even Sati, the goddess of the material universe, she took birth as his daughter. So that's how Daksha was opulent. And because of performing all these Vedic karmakandik activities, Daksha was very puffed up with his wealth, kingdom, Sutastri, all this kingdom and children. And he never liked Lord Shiva. And when he was invited by Brahma to the sacrificial arena, Daksha criticized or made fun of, laughed at Shiva. And Kashyapa Muni is reminding Diti of this incident, that how Daksha humiliated or tried to humiliate Shiva. But Shiva is, he's a very advanced devotee. He is not easily affected by the mundane, contaminated envy, and through that envy, whatever criticism people make. So he's not affected. So he just left the arena. But Nandi, the carrier, Nandishwara, the carrier of Shiva, couldn't take it. He couldn't tolerate his Lord being criticized. So he cursed all the karmakandik people, including Brigu and all the people, Brahmanas who are puffed up, performing these karmakandik yagya. He cursed them that those who are attached to this karmakandik activities, they'll be so much immersed in gaining material opulence, going to heavenly planets, enjoying the heavenly planets, and when the credits finish, coming back to the material world, doing performance of karmakandik yagya again. So they will be kept busy in the samsara, going up and down, going to Swarga and coming back, and performing these ritualistic activities, and they will never get an opportunity to appreciate the devotional service to Lord Krishna, because they are offended Lord Shiva. As a counter curse, the Brigu and the other Brahmanas cursed that Shiva will never get the avirbhag, the fruit of a yagya. He won't get the share of the yagya performed during karmakandik activities. So Vishwanath Thakur Chakravarti says, it's actually a boon for Shiva that he doesn't need to get involved in karmakandik activities and take the remnants of the karmakandik activities. So he thought himself that it's a boon that Brigu and all these Brahmanas cursed him. And so there was this counter curse going back and forth between Nandi and then Nandi cursed that all these people who worship Vishnu, they would never get any money when they really need it. They're always kept in poverty. Devotees take that as a blessing so that they can be more dependent on the Lord. And the Brahmanas and Brigu, they cursed back Nandi, stating, anybody who follows Shiva, they will all end up being pashandis, or atheist. Anybody who worships Shiva as Ishvara, they will end up as Pashandis. So when you can see, when Lord appeared, he actually says that in Padma Puran, that when I appear as a Brahmana in Kali Yuga and propagate Shunyavad, Nirvishesha and Shunyavad, impersonalist Mayavad philosophy, and all my followers are Pashandis, because they consider Pashandis or atheists because they can't recognize the form of the Lord. They think the form of the Lord is material. They think when the Lord appears in this material world, he accepts a material form, which is quite an offense. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, it is a grievous offense to consider, it is one of the most grievous offenses is to consider the Lord's form as material. So all the followers of Shiva, worshippers of Shiva, they all end up becoming Pashandis by Shankara's preaching. So speaking of decorating the dead body, there's a verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela. I can't remember the entire verse, I might look it up. These are the verses, there are two verses, instructed by Mahaprabhu to Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami when they met Mahaprabhu in Allahabad. Bhagavad Bhakti Hinasya. Anybody knows that verse? Jati Shastra, yeah. Something like that. Bhagavad Bhakti Hinasya, one who doesn't have devotional service to the Lord, Jati, taking birth in a very high class family, Jati, what is it, Jati? Jnana? Yeah, Shastra and Japa, it doesn't matter how qualified Brahmana he is, how top Brahmana family is born, how much yoga or jnana is accumulated. All these qualities, all these so-called ornaments are only, the third verse is, decorating the dead body. Abharanam, something, it says abharana, something, decorating the dead body. And the next verse, this is actually from Hari Bhakti Sudodaya, where Mahaprabhu quotes to Rupa and Sanatana, mentioned in Madhya Leela. In the second verse, Mahaprabhu says that even a person is born in a Swapaka family. Shwa, we saw that Shwa. Shwa means a dog. Swapaka means one who eats dog. Even though one is born in a Swapaka family, but if he takes to devotional service, the fire of devotional service purifies whatever grievous offense he has committed to take birth in that Swapaka family, and he should be considered a very elevated, very highly elevated person, and everybody should, the whole world, one should take shelter of him. He can even become a guru. One should take shelter of Swapaka because he is being purified by devotional service. So the material opulences one might have, if you don't recognize the Lord or his devotees, it is only decorating the dead body. Prabhupada gives an example in Bengal, the cobbler caste. They live a very poor, miserable life, being a cobbler, especially in Prabhupada's time. They weren't making Nike and Reebok shoes in those days. They were working on, dirty shoes, people, they're fixing shoes and they're dealing with leather. So it's considered a very low-class tradition, profession. They usually don't have much money, so they live a very miserable life. But when a person dies in that family, they'll go borrow money and decorate the dead body with silk ornaments. So entire life they led a miserable life with torn clothes. But when the person is dead, they want to decorate the dead body. So Prabhupada usually quotes this example. What is the use of decorating the dead body? What's the use? Similarly, what we have is a dead body. this body given to us, from the very moment it's dying. This body is conceived or made when the male and female engage in sexual intercourse and comes from secretion of those fluids of material bodies, of the female and male material bodies. And that's what is this body, that's the seed of this body. It comes from such a disgusting situation. And from the very moment of the secretions coming together, spirit soul is placed according to his previous karma. And that body is rotting, dying from the very moment. It's not the same body what a spirit soul gets when it is conceived. It's not the same body in a month time, in a 3 months time, in a 6 months time within the womb. And when the body comes out, it's not the same body what it was conceived. So the body keeps dying. This material body keeps dying. And this material body is made of not any great elements. It's made of earth, water, fire, ether. In a gross way, we can say made of blood, urine, stool, mucus, bile. So that's the body this living entity has. But if we consider this body as something very important and want to spend time and energy decorating this body for self-gratification and not recognizing the Lord, is just mere ornaments, abharana, ornaments of the dead body. And this dead body, when one gives up, is burnt by the fire or buried. When it is buried, it becomes stool. It gets eaten by worms, other animals. And what happens? They pass through their system and then it becomes stool. So that's a body we have. And this is a body we are very dutifully looking after. So, one who does not recognize Krishna or his pure devotees, like Shiva, his body is like his person decorating the dead body. So one should understand the importance of devotional service, the importance of Lord Shiva and his glories. Lord Shiva, even though I explained, he is very merciful, but he's extra merciful to his devotees. He goes out of his own way to help devotees. We can see in the 4th canto, when the Prachetas decided to meditate on Lord Krishna, Shiva went out of his own way. They didn't even go seeking for him. But Shiva, out of his own way, he was very pleased with the Prachetas that they were going to perform austerity to please Vishnu, please Krishna. He went out of his own way and instructed him the Rudra Gita, the song sung by Lord Shiva. Very nice prayers. That's one of the things I want to memorize. Really very nice prayers sung by Lord Shiva. And similarly, you can also see Lord Shiva glorifying the devotees in 6th canto, end of 6th canto, when Parvati, out of anger, curses Chitraketu. You can't sit like that before the deities. It means you are sexually agitated. That's what it means. Chitraketu. When Parvati curses Chitraketu, Shiva becomes not so happy, and he instructs Parvati about the glories of his devotees, about the glories of Krishna's devotees. And also in the 6th canto, in the beginning of 6th canto, Yamaraj glorifies Lord Shiva. He says, Brahma, Narada, Shambho, they are considered Mahatmas. They are considered the authority of devotional service. They are great souls. Again, and Shiva in Padma Puran and also in Shiva Puran, he says, Aradhanam, Aradhanam Sarvesham, Vishnu Aradhanam Param. Vishnu Aradhanam Param. Tasmad, Tasmad what? Tasmad Parataram Devi, Thadi Samacharam. Thadi Aradhana, Thadi Samacharam, Thadiya Samacharam. So even Lord Shiva instructs Parvati by stating, of all the worship, of all Aradhana worship, worship of Vishnu is the Shrestha, is the best worship. And beyond that worship is Thadiya. Thadiya means anything related to Krishna is called Thadiya. So in Nectar of Instruction, Nectar of Devotion, the different Thadiyas are mentioned. Tulasi, Mathura, activities related to the deity, Bhagavatas and Bhagavatam. These are directly related to the Lord. And worshipping this Thadiya is a better worship than worshipping Vishnu himself. So Lord Shiva, every opportunity he gets, he glorifies the devotees, he glorifies devotional service. And he also leads a very exemplary life of renunciation. And one who ignores Lord Shiva or disrespects Lord Shiva is just a bewildered soul who is maintaining a body which is fit for food for the dogs. In that note, I will finish. Any questions, comments? Yeah. Yeah, it's marijuana, ganja, which is what chilam they say in Himalayas, where all the the Naga Babas, they all smoke, and they give the justification that since Lord Shiva drank the poison which came out of the hala, which came out of the churning of the milk ocean, since they are also Shivoham, they want to become Shiva or they want to merge into Shiva, they consider they are tiny Shivas, so they want to consume the poison. So the marijuana, or they smoke marijuana, they smoke chillums, I don't know what ingredients, a kind of a crystal made out of the bud of marijuana. They also make lassi, and there's Holi coming soon, so they all get drunk with that bang lassi. In Vrindavan and all the Shaivites, they get drunk with that. So these are all poisonous intoxicants. Also, if you go even further in Himalayas, you can find honey, which are captured from, accumulated from poisonous flowers. And you drink that honey, you get really intoxicated. In Nepal, anybody from Nepal here? So you heard of that honey? Yeah, good. So there's a honey you can get in the high mountains of Himalayas. You drink that, it really spins you out. You can even die. So, the Shaivites, followers of Shiva, they try to imitate him by staying in burial ground, by smearing themselves with ashes. At the Naga Babas, you can go to Varanasi, you can see them. Or in the Himalayas, you can see them. They try to imitate Lord Shiva. But Lord Shiva is not a person who you can imitate. He is even beyond demigods. So how can you imitate? It's like imitating Krishna. You can't imitate Krishna. You got to follow Shiva and his instructions. Okay? That's the intoxication, poison. It's been spoken here. The Rudra Gita, the song sung by Lord Shiva, there's a whole set of prayers.